Mom, so I wanted to ask you some questions about Doug Harsh, your biological father. When was the first time you heard about him?
The first time I heard about him was from my sister Ruth Ann, and it was because she was talking and telling me about how she had had such a hard time after Mom married Jim Kuhn that, she would cry when Mom came over to Grandma's house, and she would cry that she wanted to go. She wishes that Jim was her dad, because she wanted to be able to live with a mom and dad, and she wanted to go home with Mom. And Grandma, comforting her, had told her, "It's okay, Ruth Ann, because you know what? Jim isn't even Kathy's father. It's and she, I don't know, I don't understand exactly what she said, whether Ruth Ann asked questions, if she was even old enough to ask those kind of questions, but if Grandma just, said, well, Kathy's father's name is Doug Harsh, and just promise me you won't tell anybody, you won't tell anybody that. And of course, Ruth Ann was young enough that she promised that, but because Ruth Ann and I had spent so much time together, Grandma used to come over to our house on a daily basis. I mean, she was, unless Grandpa was home from the silo building, Grandma was at our house probably every day. Mom had a lot of kids, she worked nights and stuff, and so she was just always there to help out. And so Ruth and Grandma were around all the time, and Ruth is just 2 years older than I am, and we shared everything with each other. And so one of the first things Ruth Ann did was to come to tell me that that Jim wasn't actually my father, that my father's name was Doug Harsh.
And that's when you were how old, roughly?
And I don't know. And I asked Ruth Ann, and she said we were really, really young. I can't really place the timing on when she told me that, but it was just for the majority of my life. I always knew that. It was always in the back of my mind, and I never forgot that, but I didn't really dwell on it. And then when we were living in Eau Claire, and it was at the house that I remember I was in the 6th grade at some point, whether it was the beginning or the end of 6th grade, that we had been out. We lived at 434th Street. I could describe the house to you and everything. And there was a little white picket fence around the front yard. And Mom was outside sitting in a lawn chair, and I think I was talking to her to start with, and Gail was jumping rope, and Bobby was around, David was around, and coming from and I don't know my south and west in that city at this point, but like we were here, and the car came from here and drove. This is like where the gate was to the fence, and this car drove up and parked right on this side of the fence, just almost in front of Mom. And a guy got out of the car, came around I don't remember the kinds of cars, but they used to have them big kind of peakedy wing kind of fenders in the back. And he got out of the car and come walking around. He had like blue jeans on, and his white t-shirt was rolled up like this on the sleeves and stuff. And he come to the gate, and at that point I must have walked over by Gail or something, because Mom talked to him a little bit, and then she said to me, "Kathy, come here a minute." And I thought it was kind of odd, because she was talking to a stranger. But when she called me over, she said, "Oh, Kathy, I just wanted you to meet my friend. This is Doug Harsh." And because that name always stuck with me after Ruth Ann had said that to me, I knew immediately that that's what that was. Not that I really had any interest. It didn't really. I just thought, oh, that's that guy Ruth Ann was talking about, and I don't remember my reaction to it. I don't remember if I said anything other than hi or or whatever. And I walked away again with the kids, and they talked for a while, and then they left. And Mom at that time, Paul was with us. It was just before the kids were taken and put into foster care. Bobby, Gail, David. And so if I was in the beginning of 6th grade, Bobby was in the beginning of 5th, and Gail was in the beginning of 4th. And David would have, just been the little guy that would have been in like 2nd grade. Yeah, because Brian, that's when he drowned that duck in the toilet there. He was just a little guy, just a toddler. And anyway, I forget, I just remember when he did that day, because he showed us what he did too, because we used to put, Bobby and I used to put that little duck, we got it at an Easter thing down at the park, and Bobby used to let it swim in the bathtub. And so when we were at school one time, and Brian was so little, he was still at home all day, he showed us, he took the little duck and picked it up by the neck and just plunged it down the toilet. So the poor thing, when my mother found it, was dead. But anyway, I just never really gave that much thought again after that. And a lot of times I would almost lose track of it. I didn't really have a relationship with Jim Kuhn either. And never really had much of a relationship with Jim Kuhn at all. But I had no desire to know to search out anything about who supposedly my biological father was. I guess because there'd never been anybody around, I just wasn't even interested. It wasn't anything that I even questioned. Never thought about perhaps there were other brothers or sisters or anything. I think I was just too young to be focused on anything other than our immediate family. And I don't know where I should go from there.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just thinking about how he had come back. He was 20 years old, I guess, when he got married. After he got back from the war, as I'm reading the story. And then he must have met Lorraine that same year or so, because you were born.
So he was probably only about 32 or so, because I was probably about 12. I might have been 11.
Huh.
Because I think I was 13 when we moved to Kenosha. And that summer I stayed with Grandma McCune all that summer. Lori was born in that September. And shortly after that, it was in winter, it was cold, when we drove to Kenosha, because Dick Mercer had rented us an apartment there. Well, us, and he'd already moved to Busman to Kenosha also.
Mm-hmm.
And never really thought too much. Well, I never really gave it a whole lot of thought until you decided to run go with the, what is that, 23andMe, is that what the site is called?
Yeah, just the DNA. I was just...
And knew at that point what you would find out. So I was like, well, shit, I didn't know. Do I just let you just go on and say, oh, this thing is just nuts, or what? Or do you? So I thought I'd better probably tell you ahead of time that you'd probably see things a little bit different.
Might not match up with people.
Might not match up with the stories that you've heard all your life. So I better tell you the truth and just tell you kind of keep it under wraps. And so
it's too bad we didn't stop and have this conversation earlier, though. If 23andMe had come out 5 years earlier, it would have been interesting to me to have been able to meet Doug Harsh. So just the way it goes, I guess.
yeah.
Missed out on that, but.
And I never really had a desire. To be honest, the only thing that really interested me until, 2 hours ago or so was the brothers and sister thing. When you had gotten a hold of Jennifer,
Mm-hmm.
and I started seeing some of the pictures of the brothers and sisters, and that's when I started, because I always felt extremely close to my sibling link. And I wanted to know who those other people were. And by the time I had talked to a couple, and especially seeing the picture of Sue, and going,
Yeah.
oh my God. Well, I mean, that was when you got your things back, you know, and we realized that Bobby and Gail. I had thought I was the only one. I really assumed the rest were all McCunes until it came down to Paul and Lori and Jim. So I thought I was the only, you know, more or less outcast, and that all the rest were Jim McCune's kids. And, you know, then all of a sudden I found out, oh my God, it's me and Bobby and Gail that are all. And then
And that's over how long of a time frame? You separated, well, your birthdays are separated by how many years?
Bobby and I are separated by about 14 months, and then Gail came Bobby's born in May, June to July to August, or September to October, and Bobby and Gail are separated by 17 months.
Okay.
So, I mean, we were all really, you know, close in age. But then Sue and Gail are just, I think, within days apart.
Yeah.
And they look like they could have been almost identical twins.
Right. It's just an interesting story. You never know how people's lives have weaved in and out of their experiences, you know. So.
But until you told me that tonight, until we actually looked at the ages and stuff, and I'd always felt that Doug Harsh was probably a little older than Mom because she was only 17. I've been angry with my mom over a lot of things over the years, and don't ever play this for her, please. But I was just as angry when we talked about Doug Harsh. You know, I wasn't very receptive to that when you started talking about it, and I've referred to him continually to everybody else I talk to as my, you know, my paternal sperm donor, because I hate to even use the word father. But, you know, when I think about it and think about them both being so young, being 17 and 23, it's like I all of a sudden have a whole different outlook on it. Kind of like I did with my foster children when they had babies, and Gennaro was 15 and Fredo was 25. And then, you know, got some history on Haitian background and realized that, oh my God, that was just normal, common in the Haitian country, you know, and the country of Haiti, that's a normal kind of thing. And I realized, I mean, 17 and 23 are not all that far apart.
They're really not that separated, especially boys and girls. I mean, boys usually mature later, right? So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I try not to be judgmental about the situation because I didn't have those experiences, so I don't know what their lives were like. So I think I'm getting better about that in life, being a little less judgmental. All right, Mom. Well, thanks for doing that, because I wanted to kind of get a record of this so I kind of keep the story straight.
I was just telling Carol, too, that, you know, really, I mean, I probably wouldn't be saying all these different things to you guys, except for that I think that, you know, I wished I would have had history. I wished I would have known more when I was younger. Because, you know, there would have been a whole lot of things that would have been different, that I'd have lived differently, too. I mean, I would have chosen to know my brothers and sisters because of that strong sibling relationship that I'd had with the others. And, well, up until, like I said, an hour or so ago, I was still really kind of angry with both of them, and I have to kind of rethink that. But I'm angry with my mom, not only for that, but for other things too. And sometimes just frustrated with hearing, because I know she's got such major problems, that sometimes I'm frustrated with hearing them and trying to deal with them because of my truth and reality, you know, kind of thing that I deal with all the time.
Right. All right, Mom, thanks.
Yeah.
Love you.
Love you.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you. Happy New Year.